Hey everybody, it's Cam from Bulwark. I'm here today with my dear friend and person I'm staying with in his queen bed, Jack Cocciarella, and gun violence prevention legend, Mr. Chris Murphy. How you doing, my man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here in a moment in which there's just so much that we could talk about. And the Trump administration is constantly breaking our hearts, making us uncomfortable and sad every day. At least someone is winning, and it seems like that someone is Donald Trump. He's winning at grifting in the best possible way. I saw an article the other day saying that Eric Trump is now a billionaire in his own right, which I don't really know if he worked for that one, but like corruption is the main focus of this administration. I feel like the crypto scam isn't talked about enough, but you've been hitting this so hard. For people who aren't following Donald Trump's crypto grift, can you just like open it up a little bit for them?
Yeah, but you are right? The MO of this administration is to make as much money as they can for Donald Trump, for his families, and to all their hangers-on. And really everything else is secondary to that central mission. The crypto scam is just bananas. It's like nuclear-grade corruption. What they're basically doing is using the power of the office in order to convince people who want something from the White House, who want something from the United States of America, to invest in Trump's crypto schemes. And they are doing it at just wild scale. So the Trump brothers and one of their buddies, whose dad just happens to be the Middle East envoy, went over to the region a couple of months ago and basically said, we'll do a deal with you, United Arab Emirates. If you agree to put $2 billion, and like that is still a lot of money, into Trump's new stable coin, we'll trade you American national security secrets. What those secrets were our highest technology semiconductors and microchips that are used to power advanced AI systems. Now, no president was ever going to contemplate giving those chips to the UAE because the UAE has a really open national security relationship with China. And the belief was if we give them secrets like our most advanced chips, they'll just give them to China. But Trump was willing to do it in exchange for the $2 billion investment. And so it's just something that we can't normalize because it basically distracts Trump and everyone in the White House from doing anything other than helping themselves. That's one of the reasons why they're not focused on helping us. But if he gets away with it, then it just becomes the way that the White House operates, that you get to use the massive power of the office to enrich yourself. I mean, if a mayor was doing this, right? If a mayor was saying, if you give me $1,000, I'll give you a private meeting in town hall. Like Republicans and Democrats in that town would run that mayor out of town on a rail. But Trump does that, right? Says, you invest in my crypto business and you can come and have a private meeting with me in Washington. And we're just like, ho-hum. Like we can't allow it to become normalized.
So just today I learned about Fairshake, which is the largest crypto-aligned super PAC, at least in the 2024 election cycle. They were spending loads of money to cryptify Congress. And in Nevada's 4th congressional district, they spent nearly $2 million on ads to support the re-election of, and I know when we're talking about this type of corruption, you'd think we were talking about Republicans, but Stephen Horsford, a Democratic congressman who's voted in favor of some major pro-crypto bills. So it seems as though this is kind of a bipartisan form of corruption, the shilling for crypto stuff. Do you have conversations with other Democrats where you're like, hey, this crypto is used for cartels and for child sex abuse material. Maybe we ought to be a little bit harder on it?
Well, I mean, listen, we can have a broader conversation about the corruption in our entire campaign finance system, in which both Democrats and Republicans for decades have been taking corporate money and now getting the benefit of anonymous and secret money. And there's just no doubt that that has an impact in our politics. And our party is not going to convince anybody that we're serious about government reform until we're ready to say, no corporate money, no billionaire money, no private money in our politics. That probably requires a constitutional amendment. But it is a little different what Trump is doing, right? What Trump is doing is just direct quid pro quos, right? You make an investment in his business, he will give you favorable treatment. And he's doing it mostly under the cover of darkness. We know about the UAE deal because it was done pretty publicly, but we actually have no idea who is making big investments in Trump's meme coin. Those are likely foreign oligarchs. Those are likely CEOs. We know at least one big international trucking company that basically said, hey, I'm buying a mess load of Trump's meme coin because I know that that's going to get me an audience for my company's interests at the White House. So I don't want to discount the corruption in our campaign finance system. That's a Republican and Democratic problem. But I also don't want to equate what's happening in the campaign finance system to the much more brazen kind of corruption that's happening in the White House right now.
Certainly, but when we're thinking about the perception, I feel like we are still dealing with the brunt of all politicians are the same, both parties are the same. And we see this play out in the way that Democrats are losing on the issue of corruption. I feel like somehow we're losing on the issue of free speech as well. And this is a big conversation that's come up, especially with Pam Bondi saying that she's cracking down on anyone who's not, bringing flowers to the vigil of Charlie Kirk. How did Democrats who have always fought for the ability for people to speak their mind make the case with all of the ammunition that we have against the Trump administration's willingness to kidnap you if you write a bad op-ed, to fire you from your job for an Instagram story post? Why can't we just win on this issue?
Well, I think we can win on this issue. I do not think the American people are going to support this pending brutal crackdown.
Tucker Carlson's not even supporting it.
On dissent. I think there's going to be a lot of Republicans who worry about, again, a precedent in which the president of the United States gets to decide to equate speech that is basically generic political speech with terrorism or violence, incitement, or hate speech. So I think this is going to be hard for him to carry out. But we have to be honest with people. I think it's important for us to say that we do not excuse violence that is inspired by left-wing radicalization or right-wing radicalization, while at the same time pointing out that most of the violent radicalization in this country is coming from the right. And just today, before we went on the air, the Trump administration scrubbed from the DOJ website a report which confirms that the vast majority of violent incidences in this country that are inspired by a political fringe group are inspired by the political right. And of course, Donald Trump is the primary endorser and rationalizer of political violence in this country because of the way in which he continues to celebrate the assault on the Capitol, which ended up with people dead and a lot of people very violently hurt.
Yeah, I've faced a lot of concerns with this because when I was doing gun violence prevention advocacy as a teenager, was getting a lot of death threats online. And that sort of gave me a crash course in what language is and is not protected. And you get a lot of reports from different organizations that exist to track these things that a lot of these actors of political violence are being radicalized on online forums. And what's been so concerning to me is seeing a lot of the groups that exist to manage and watch these things are now losing state grants under the Trump administration because of that, because of a lot of things, including that 22-year-old boy that got appointed to be to overview domestic terror.
The bad Zoolander face.
Right.
The one whose headshot for the government looks like
it's a bad blue steel. Yeah.
So, most recently worked for a landscaping company.
Something like that. Yeah. So that's obviously very concerning for a variety of reasons. But in conversations with other Democrats in Congress, is there anything that can be done looking forward to say, okay, if this administration is not going to support efforts to prevent domestic terror, we have to do something about it?
Well, I mean, this is the real heartbreaking tragedy. It's unsurprising, but President Trump could have chosen to bring Republicans and Democrats together and the broad public together to draw a firm line and say we are going to put together a program to try to stop this growing amount of political violence. And I think, as you mentioned, at the heart of radicalization is a set of information platforms that host really dangerous content and often knowingly host that dangerous content, even though it's very predictable it's going to end up leading to really grievous harms. One of the things we could choose to do is to take away the immunity that these internet platforms have today, and choose to hold them accountable for crimes that are knowingly committed based upon the radicalization that's happening there. But instead, Trump and Republicans are doing the opposite. They are proposing to ban states, for instance, from doing any regulation of these new AI chatbots, which are often the place that people are sort of getting into this very dangerous downward spiral into violent behavior.
Including young children, of course.
Including young children. Yes, we can, for now, because we have stopped them from prohibiting states to regulate, push democratic states to hold these internet companies and to hold these AI companies accountable, to try to make it a little bit less likely that, at least in states run by Democrats and Democratic governors, these platforms are a place where people so easily find opportunities to access violent radicalization.
And right now we're seeing such engagement. I feel like the Republican argument, at least under the first few years of the Biden administration, was that you were seeing Democrats suppress speech. And Mark Zuckerberg, the flip-flopper and kind of lizard that he is, was always saying that, I was bullied into doing this or that, with would it be, fact-checking. With Meta, now he's obviously very much cozied up to Donald Trump. He's got himself a nice cool guy chain, and everything's different. You also see Larry Ellison, it seems like, is about to be purchasing at least the U.S. slice of TikTok. Is this a place where Democrats take up the mantle of, we are going to beat back against algorithms that purposely make you sad. We are going to protect kids. Like, do you think about any laws around, children having their phones out or just having them at schools as a dad? Is this something that you think is a conversation that Democrats should be having with parents, as it seems like Republicans have tried to fully take on we care about families and we're going to talk to moms about what's best for their kids? Do you think the internet and the way that these platforms have so badly hurt people is maybe a place that we should play?
Well, let's pair that conversation together with what you referenced with respect to Paramount's future interests. Listen, I think as Democrats, we need to be thinking about ways to be really purposefully reaching into Trump's base and have a conversation with them about how Trump is a fraud. Yep. And one of the things that really does unite a lot of elements of the conventional right and the conventional left is the worry about an unregulated internet. And parents worry, parents who are conservative and parents who are progressive, really not knowing what their kids' online life looks like. So, I've actually, been able to introduce bipartisan legislation that says some pretty simple things about how kids and parents interact with social media, that there should be age verification to make sure that there are no kids under 13 on these social media sites, that these algorithms that are often the ones that spin you into really dark places shouldn't turn on either without parental consent or maybe not until the kid is 18. These would be, tough new ways to have kids interacting with the internet, would probably rob them of some of the tools that are available to them today. But that kind of policy, giving parents more control over their kids' online life, speaks to the right and the left, as does a conversation around breaking up concentrated corporate power. Yeah. Both sort of social conservatives and cultural progressives both believe that companies like Paramount, who is now angling to own not just CBS but CNN, have become,
and appoint Barry Weiss
and to put Trump-appointed content moderators in charge of news programming. It's bananas. But again, both right and left believe that these corporations, especially these big media corporations, have become too big. So if the Democratic Party becomes a party of unrigging government, of deconstructing corporate power, of giving parents more power over their kids' lives, man, that speaks to a really broad cross-section of the country.
And it's that little conspiracy-ish adjacent sprinkle in there too, with these guys want to own everything and kind of what's going on there. It's it's got the similar Project 2025 vibe to it that I think works well.
So one more question for you, because this is very, very interesting to me, and I'm so grateful for your time. It says here you won what I believe was your first election at the age of 25,
yep.
Which for anybody in our audience who doesn't know, I will be in less than 2 months.
It's a long time ago for me.
In 2001, you look great. In 2001, you were the co-sponsor of a bill to eliminate child poverty, and I just want to say publicly, I agree. In 2004,
it's bold, Cam.
You supported a bill that would ban smoking in all restaurants and bars. And you're like, what, like
I was like 29 at the time when all of my friends were
What
smoking
were
in
they
bars.
smoking? American Spirits?
I don't know exactly what they were smoking, but none of it was good for them. But I was not. Yeah, that was a controversial bill to take on broadly at the time. I think only a couple states had banned smoking in public places, but it was definitely a controversial bill for a 29-year-old single
That's what I'm
guy
gonna say.
to take on.
I was born in 2000. Like public smoking on airplanes. Like I never knew that shit even happened until I started watching movies, and I was like, wait, are they hot? Like, are they smoking cigarettes on a plane?
Hotboxing the plane.
But like, just in terms of integrity and politicians, I always say it's so crazy to me when Republicans meet the victims of gun violence and still take money from the NRA. That's something I've been bullish on since I was 17. Being 29 and going after smoking in restaurants and bars, you must have gotten so much shit. And your morals must have really been tested.
Well, I have a great story about this. So the people who really hated this bill were the vending machine companies. You definitely don't remember this. You don't remember
There were
this.
cigarette vending
There were
machines?
cigarette vending machines.
I remember that in the bathroom of a mall once.
Yeah, so they were all over restaurants in sort of the 1990s and 2000s, and they were going to lose. They were really going to be put out of business if you couldn't smoke in restaurants and bars. And so what they did was they put outside of like every bar in the greater Hartford area a sign that said, "I'm the reason that you're smoking outside right now." And it was a picture of my face and my home number. Okay, so think about who and at what time
It's got a fire,
people
honestly.
are willing to call that number. It's a drunk guy at 1 a.m. outside of the bar, he's freezing in the middle of December. He sees my face. This is the guy who's made you sit outside the bar, freeze your ass off smoking your cigarette. And so every night, without fail, at about 1 o'clock,
Was this a
1:30
home
in the
phone
morning,
or
the
a
home
mobile
phone.
phone?
Yeah, because this is like sort of when we all still had home phones. So this was my home phone every night for months, 1:30, 2 a.m. in the morning, going off with drunk guys calling me to ream me out for making them smoke outside.
We can cut this part, but did anyone ever this good-looking elected official, young guy, did anyone ever call you like, "Hey man, what's up? I never want to get a drink tomorrow?"
I did not. I was not picking up the phone when they called. These were all
Maybe not the best way to meet
These
someone.
were all messages on something called an answering machine,
I don't know what
which
you're
is
talking
another
about.
conversation we can have at another time.
I know that from the movie Swingers, and that's it.
Yeah,
So
they didn't work like they worked in Swingers, so they didn't talk back to you in real life.
All right, I will just do a boring outro.
Oh, I got that. And on the Swingers reference, Senator, you're so money and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm Jack, and Cam, are you still Cam with the Bulwark?
What else would I be?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.